I can't believe this, as multiple NHL players show major disrespect to the San Jose Sharks organization. We're going to talk about the impacts that this has on the Sharks' future going forward here in the NHL, so you're not going to want to miss this episode of Sharks Digest. But before we dive into all that, we got to say we're on 860 subscribers currently. We really appreciate all the support we've been getting here, and we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the Four Nations kicks off. So if you want to stay up to date on everything Sharks, going into the draft, going into trade deadline, we got you covered right here on Sharks Digest. But with that said, before we talk about NHL players disrespecting the Sharks, we got to talk about some injury updates that we heard from Ryan Warsofsky today, saying Alex Wennberg, Nico Sturm, Nikolai Kovalenko, and Jan Rutta all on IR currently. He says we think they're all really close, and if they're ready to go, and if not ready to go, by after the break, which is really good news for Sharks fans. Obviously, we're not looking too good for the rest of the year here, with the roster we have right now, and it's looking like we're in tank mode, but it is good to hear that we get some guys back here like Jan Rutta, like Nico Sturm, like Alex Wennberg, who are potential trade pieces come trade deadline, because if we look at this roster right now, it's probably one of the lackluster bottom sixes we've seen in the NHL right now. I think this team's a fun team to watch, no doubt about it. When you have Celebrini and Eklund, and even Graf is a fun guy to watch there in that bottom six, but obviously this isn't a team that's going to go out there and win a Stanley Cup. Give them a couple of years, they definitely will, but you're getting guys back here like Jan Rutta who can slide back in on the defense here, like Wennberg, like Sturm, who can easily come in, go slide back into their bottom six, second line center roles here for this team. But the big thing here for Mike Grier and the San Jose Sharks is getting guys like Rutta and the older guys like Nico Sturm back that they can now flip at the March deadline after the Four Nations face-off to contending teams that say need a center. They need to shore up their blue line. Then they can go out, move guys like this, get a few picks in return, build up that capital for this team. So when the draft comes, they got an extra few picks that they can either work with and pick a player, or they can go out there and make a trade on draft day or just before during the offseason. I think this is a great news to hear if you're San Jose Sharks fans, because these are guys that maybe aren't going to stick around with the team long term. They're in their 30s right now, so they have to move on to greener pastures. And if a trade arises where something comes in for, say, Alex Wennberg or Jan Rutta, I'm sure Mike Grier is going to work something out to send those guys to a contending team. But good news today that we're getting some guys back here after the Four Nations break. Obviously, it's going to be a pretty long break for us Sharks guys, because we don't have anybody in the tournament right now, and it's going to be a long couple weeks. But it's good to hear that our guys are getting better. But we got to talk about the main reason of this video today is the disrespect that the NHL is showing the San Jose Sharks. In an anonymous NHL player poll by The Athletic, the San Jose Sharks were the third most picked team to have on their no trade list. Yeah, you're reading that right. The Sharks are top three to be on a no trade list by an NHL player. That is just ridiculous. I cannot believe this when I seen this today. Obviously, I know you don't want to get traded to the Sharks maybe this season, but come on, third most in the entire league is crazy. I can't believe that. The guys that we have in the Sharks right now, like Macklin Celebrini, Celebrini, all these guys we got coming up, like Askarov, Dickinson, Cagnoni, all these prospects that we have, this team is going to be good going forward. Even next year, they could be really good and compete. All they need is to go out and get a superstar, like maybe a Rantanen or Marner during this offseason, and they're right in the mix again. So to see that multiple NHL players, I think it's like 8% of NHL players have the San Jose Sharks on their no trade list right now, is crazy. I can't believe it, to be honest with you, because that just leaves Mike Grier in a bad situation, unfortunately, because maybe Mike wants to go out and trade for a guy, and he's like, hey, we can't do it. He's on your no trade list. We can't trade him to you. So, yeah, I couldn't believe that today when I seen that, and I think that will change over time, because obviously guys are going to want to come play with a generational talent like Macklin Celebrini and the young guys we got here like Will Smith, William Eklund. This team is going to be nasty going forward. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I mean, just as we've seen from in this article as well. It says San Jose Sharks might not be so high on the list in coming season as they hopefully return to the postseason. Veteran forward Tyler Toffoli signed a 5-year contract last summer, showing that top NHL players want to play in the Bay Area, and that is a good sign for the Sharks organization. Is that Tyler Toffoli, a guy who's a perennial 20-30 goal scorer on any team he's been on, wants to play in the Bay Area and wants to play for the San Jose Sharks. So it's not all NHL players that don't want to come to the Bay Area and show out for the San Jose Sharks, but I think it's pretty crazy that they're top 3 in the league. I mean, did you know the top one on this list is the Winnipeg Jets? That kind of surprised me too. I couldn't believe that. But yeah, this just makes it even more interesting going into that trade deadline for the San Jose Sharks, because now Mike Grier can't really pick and choose because some guys don't have him on their no trade list, and it just makes it even harder for the GM here, because if you have, you're going to trade with, let's say, a Colorado Avalanche, or one of these contending teams that are coming to look after guys we just talked about, like a Jan Ruda or a Wemberg or something like that, and you're saying, hey, we'll take this guy in return. Actually, no, you can't, because he just signed a no-trade clause and you're on that list. That makes it even harder for negotiations to happen between GMs and stuff like this, but I really do hope this does change for the San Jose Sharks going forward, because there's nothing worse than not being able to make a trade happen because a player does not want to come to this team. I think that San Jose at one point was one of the most sought after teams to come to, with Joe Thornton, Pavelski, the guys we had here like Couture and stuff like that. So once we get back to that kind of status in the NHL where we're contending, getting into playoff spots every year, where, you know, Celebrini's one of the top players in the league, because eventually he will get there, and we got guys like Eklund, Will Smith, who have the potential to get there as well, with Dickinson coming up in the minors right now. We have Askarov coming up from the Kudas. We have a bunch of guys down there with the Kudas that could easily make this roster. I think it's going to be a sought-after team to come to in maybe even next year or a couple of years' time, where we're going to see a lot of players saying, hey, we want to win in the Bay Area, and we're going to come to that team. But definitely going to be interesting going forward. I think they're one major deal away here from being a contending team. Well, not a contending team, but being a playoff team. Whether it's that, what I talked about, getting Marner or Rantanen, that would be huge. That would put them in the talks for a playoff contention. I would definitely say that. But it's going to be interesting to see how things go going forward for this San Jose Sharks team, but major disrespect by NHL players today. I did not expect them to be that high on the list. I think teams like Buffalo or the Ducks or, you know, teams like Columbus, things like this would be above the San Jose Sharks. I did not think we would be in the top 3. Did I think we'd be in the top 10? Probably, because of just how bad we are in the standings right now, but top 3 is pretty crazy. But want to hear your guys' thoughts as always down below in the comment section. We're actually bringing in a new section to the video here today, which is comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to ID. He says, anyone saying Cagnoni won't work in the NHL, let me refer you to Exhibit A, Lane Hutson. And appreciate that comment there, ID. I seen that one and I said I had to feature that on the video, because I've seen a lot of people saying Cagnoni isn't going to work, but like he said here, Lane Hutson's doing it right now, so why can't Cagnoni do it for this San Jose Sharks team? But appreciate the comment there. Appreciate you guys showing all the love on these videos recently. Means a lot to us here on the channel. And if you enjoyed this one, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, I've been your host, KC. Catch you in the next one.